If you can see my screen, drop some fives in the chat. State your name and where you are tuning in from. State your name and where you're tuning in from. I'm not sure if it's the same link, but hang tight. All right, let me see.
Oh, you just went back live on the same page?
Yes.
It say like student.a.gov and borrower defense to refinance the position.
Yes.
Okay.
It,
Now, it looks like you doing some other things. Okay.
State your name and where you're tuning in from, and drop a five in the chat if you can see my screen. Hang tight. Just getting the link out. We'll get this call started in the next couple of minutes. Appreciate your patience. We got a good one. State your name and where you're tuning in from if you have not already. And again, this training is about student loan forgiveness because a lot of people may be able to get their loans forgiven, especially since there is a big thing going around about checks being garnished on May 5th of 2025. So they are opening up the opportunity for people to have their checks garnished just because of student loans. That didn't sit well with me. Even though I don't fit the description of someone who has student loans, I still want to help when I have information that I feel can be beneficial to you or someone that you know. So you definitely don't want to miss this. You want to stick around to the end, and then I give you a extra document that I believe can help you take it to the next level. Give me a couple of more minutes, and we'll get this call started. All right, one more minute. I see y'all hopping on. As you hop on, state your name and where you're tuning in from. Let me know if you have any credit questions. Anytime in the comments, feel free to drop a question. I'll answer them towards the tail end of the call. But any credit questions are welcome. However, this one is specifically talking about those with student loans, which you may have them or you may know someone who does. It's a lot of information. So I really want you to take screenshots or take notes and take action at the end of this, because nothing happened if you don't take action. There are true talks about checks being garnished because of student loans. Well, it's a good chance that you may not have to fall into the category of someone that gets their checks garnished, number one, but it could be a chance that you can have your student loan forgiven due to a lot of the things that are going on and the things that I'm about to share with you in this video. Okay, that being said, let's dive in. So, my name is Mr. Smith, point five of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and this is tonight's team training for those who are part of the royalty movement. But since this is live on YouTube, a lot of you are about to get some games, some guidance, and some insight of what's going on and how you can take full control of your student loan situation so that way you're not one of the ones that gets your checks garnished, because that is happening in real time or being on the verge of happening in real time. May 5th is the day where they're talking about the rules change and people are able to have their checks garnished. That ain't cool for so many different reasons, and you'll see what I mean as I go through this video. So, that being said, studentaid.gov and borrower defense repayment. Many of you who have student loans, you may already have an account with studentaid.gov. If not, it's going to be key for you to do that, because that's where all of this takes place. And then they have something inside of that known as borrower defense to repayment. And this can position you to have partial or full forgiveness of your student loans. So here's some of the basics of what I'm going to go over. Number one, what these programs do. It's going to be important for you to know what they do so you can know how to use them to your advantage. Number two, the loopholes, opportunities most people miss. A lot of people haven't talked about it and in great detail like this, so I want to go through those loopholes as well. Number three, specific scenarios. So real ways people can actually get loans wiped out. Use some true examples, and who knows, you might fit into that exact scenario, and that just gives you further proof that you can make this a reality for you. And then number four, a quick strategic blueprint, what someone should actually do next. So I'm gonna give you a blueprint. I'm not just gonna give you all of this information without any steps or things that you can do. You're going to be able to leave this call and have some things that you can start implementing immediately. So let's dive straight into the basics. Studentaid.gov. You want to make sure you have an account. So what is studentaid.gov? This is the official U.S. Department of Education portal where you manage all federal loans, repayment, forgiveness, applications, consolidation, and IDPs or income-driven plans, etc. So key features, they host all the forms for borrower defense repayment. So anytime you see BDR, they're talking about borrower defense repayment. If you see IDR, they're talking about the income driven program that they have. So you may see those initials don't, get shaken up. It's just talking about the income driven or the borrower defense repayment. So the borrower defense to repayment, it's a federal program that allows borrowers to request student loan forgiveness if their school lied to them, misled them, violated certain laws, or engaged in misconduct related to their loans or education. Bottom line, if you were misled in any meaningful way about your education or value of it, you can potentially wipe out your federal loans. Now, that's that covers a lot because whether you realize it or not, a lot of times schools do lie to individuals, mislead individuals, violate certain laws, engage in misconduct related to the loans and the education. And as a result of that, people are able to get their loans forgiven. People have been getting their loans forgiven using this information, using this strategy. So don't feel as if you're doing something wrong. This is basically using what they call the loopholes, but what I call using the codes or laws to your advantage, very similar to when I'm disputing things on a person's credit. If I see errors, inaccuracies, outdated information, unverifiable information, or violations of the code, then that's grounds for removal. This is taking that same concept or principle and applying it in real time because they're not supposed to do some of the things that they do. And you'll see exactly what I mean, and you'll know if it's something that you're likely a victim of. So take heed to all of these things as I dive in a little bit deeper. So let's talk about the loopholes that are hidden in plain sight, as I like to call it. So here are the real world gaps that many people are using right now to get their loans forgiven. So there's a broad definition of misrepresentation. So the government defines misrepresentation very broadly. And when something is defined broadly, that's a good thing if it's something that you can use to your advantage. What do I mean? If it was very specific, then that cuts out a great deal of people who don't fit into this specific box. However, if it's broad, then it's up to the understanding of the individual who's interpreting it, reading it, or willing to apply it. So broad positions a lot of people to take advantage of this, and those who understand it are taking advantage of it and being able to get whatever it is they want to accomplish as it relates to their loans, get those loans forgiven. So the broad definition basically is misrepresentation. It can include promises about job placement, rates that weren't true. See, a lot of times these schools can tell you, hey, you're going to be able to get a job in this area, get these pay rates, and it not be true. See, school is not for everyone. College is not for everyone. But a lot of people went to college because they thought it was going to guarantee them a better job and a higher pay. Then they got out of college and realized that their degree wasn't really worth the paper it was printed on. And that's a problem. Even though they thought that they were doing a good thing, they borrowed the money, they did all of the hours and committed to the process. And the student loan or the student loans didn't lead to a degree that led them to the ability to be able to pay back the student loans. And a lot of it came from misrepresentation. So, promises about job placement, that's one of the forms of misrepresentation. Promises about earning potential after graduation. Schools lying about their accreditation status. That has happened. I've had clients who have told me, hey, they told me I would have this level of accreditation, but it didn't line up. It didn't add up. That's a big deal. Schools saying you could transfer credits when you really couldn't. Imagine that. You completed a certain amount of hours and you had plans on transferring to a different school. You might have been at a technical school and you decided that you were going to transfer to a university. And now that university is not accepting those credits, even though that school said that they would be able to transfer those credits. Well, that's misrepresentation. That's misrepresentation. Guaranteeing licenses or certifications they weren't approved for. That has happened as well. Pressure sales or misleading loan counseling from school financial aid offices. Sometimes they have pressure people into, joining or getting involved in a college or taking out a loan. All of these things are things that you can use to your advantage, especially if you got documentation that can prove it. So here's some class action settlements that thousands of borrowers have used to get forgiveness without proving individual misconduct because their schools were listed in group settlements. So there's a settlement known as Sweet versus Cardano settlement. If your school is one of these or on one of these lists, your loan could be fast tracked for cancellation without a detailed personal proof burden. So some of these schools no longer even exist. And as a result of it, that can help you. Or if they fall on this list of this particular group settlement, then your loan can be fast tracked and position you to get your loan forgiven fully. Close school loopholes. If your school closed while you were enrolled or shortly after you withdrew, you might qualify for full forgiveness. That has happened as well. I've had quite a few clients that say, yeah, my school, it closed down, while I was going there or a little bit after, is there anything that I can do? And at the time I didn't know. I was like, that sounds unfortunate, but at the time I didn't know. So I didn't mislead them or tell them that it was something that they can do. I just said it sounds like something you might want to further look into. Well, now there is an actual detailed description of what they can do in order to take advantage of the fact that their school closed and position themselves to qualify for full forgiveness, even if you finish your program elsewhere. So people often miss this if they withdrew up to 180 days before the closure. So sometimes they think, just because they finished a little bit before the closure that they wouldn't qualify. Well, even if you finish, or even if you finish elsewhere, you could qualify. So let's talk about the income driven repayment and the misrepresentation in this area. It's separate but important. As of the 2024 and 2025, a lot of older borrowers are getting forgiveness due to new rules counting any time in forbearance or deferment towards the forgiveness clock, even if they didn't make payments. This can be combined with BDR for a double shot. Basically, they're saying if a person was already in forbearance or they're already, basically if they've already applied for some type of deferment status, then that clock has started. So they already are heading in the right direction of being able to have their loan forgiveness. They're actually ahead of someone who just now applied for the first time today. That clock has already started. That's basically what it's saying. So you got to understand the application language game. And like I stated, drop any questions down below. I want to blow through this. That way, if we have any questions, you'll be good to go. But remember, you're going to have access to this and an additional document that I'll go over briefly. So you want to use specific language like the following. Number one, I was misled about career placement rates, earning potential, accreditation status, and program licensure eligibility. Instead of just saying, I didn't get a good job, drastically increasing your approval. So it's a big difference between saying, yeah, I went to the school, but I didn't get a good job. Okay. What does that mean? That mean, that could be anything. However, if you can prove or say, hey, I was misled about the career placement rates, the earning potential, accreditation status, and program licensure eligibility, that's a big difference. So understanding the language game is a big, big deal when it comes to using paperwork like this to your advantage, or using language in general to your advantage. The same is true in the world of credit restoration. So I know this to be very true. Sometimes what you say can help or harm you. So that's the type of verbiage you're going to be looking for. Number three, here are the 7 scenarios that can lead to full forgiveness. Number one, if the school lied about job placement rates, you can apply under the bar of defense, citing employment deception. Result, full loan discharge plus a refund of payment. So not only are some people getting a discharge, they're also getting a refund of what they actually were out of pocket, the actual payments that they made. So that's a win-win scenario if the school lied about job placement. Number two, school promised transferable credits, but they were not. This is an easy misrepresentation case. The result, full loan discharge. Number three, the school exaggerated future salary expectation. This is misrepresentation about earning potential. Result, full loan discharge. So if you look after the title, it gives you the verbiage as well. Misrepresentation about earning potential. That should be included in the application when you're submitting. So keep that in mind. Pay attention to each line and understand what you need to include so you can have your verbiage intact. Number four, your school is listed in the Sweet versus Cardona settlement. Look into that. See if your school is listed. Reference the settlement in your application. If you know your school was listed, then reference that particular case in your application. And the result is fast track forgiveness. They're going to speed it up because they've already lost the case. And now this fast tracks your forgiveness. Number five, your school closed while you were enrolled or shortly after. File a closed school discharge. The result of that can be a full loan forgiveness as well. Number six, you were stuck in forbearance or deferment for years. The new IDR adjustment, the income driven, basically that plan rules now count those months. So if you were stuck in the rule now counts those months in your favor. And the result of this can be partial or full loan forgiveness. Number seven, you were aggressively pressured to enroll. Unlawful enrollment tactics equals strong borrower defense claim. Result, full or partial forgiveness. So let's talk about the blueprint to maximize this, a quick strategic blueprint so you can maximize the scenario. If you or someone you know wants to use this wisely, here's the simple winning strategy. Step one, go to studentaid.gov, borrower dash defense, and start the application. Or you can type in borrower defense to repayment application on the site. So everything starts at the studentaid.gov. If you already have an account, then perfect. Just log in and access it. If you don't, then go ahead and do what you got to do in order to get access to this, because everything starts here. Step two, carefully draft your narrative using trigger words. And I'm going to give you a template at the end. If you stick around, I'm going to give you a template or how to access a template so that way you can take advantage of it. And I'll leave it either in the description or the comments once this live actually posts. But you want to have certain trigger words such as misrepresentation of employment outcomes, deceptive information about salary expectations, false assurances regarding licensure or certification, untrue claims regarding credit transferability, high pressure enrollment tactics. Tip, be specific, even if short. So it's not about just having this wordy message. Just be specific about it, even if it is short. So all of these are 7 words or less for the most part. And that's specific enough without it being too wordy. The admission counselor stated 90% of graduates find a $50,000 plus job within 6 months. This was untrue. So that's an example. That's a specific example. It's not long. It's just, hey, the admission counselor told me that 90% of graduates find a $50,000 plus job within 6 months. This was untrue. And a lot of times people are able to prove this based on certain things that they received while going through the process of enrolling into that particular school, emails, etc. Step 3, which just taps into what I just said, attach evidence. If you have evidence, attach it. Refer back to all emails, brochures, screenshots, enrollment paperwork, anything that backs up your story. Dig it up and include it if it's important enough to you. But even if you have no evidence, you should still apply. Many approvals don't require it if the department already has records. So there may already be some records on your school, so it's not going to be brand new to them. So you still want to apply, even if you have no evidence. But apply if you felt that any of these things fit your situation. If you truly feel like it was some level of misrepresentation, then that's when you want to make sure that you consider applying. Step 4, if your school is on a settlement list or under investigation, mention it clearly. So if you know they're on a settlement list or they're under some investigation, mention it. Hey, this school I attended, they're under investigation for these things. Include that. Very important. Number 5, consider filing a parallel closed school discharge if your school closed while you were enrolled or shortly after you left. So even though I'm talking about how to file specifically for the borrower defense repayment, if you know that your school closed, consider filing a parallel, meaning you file not only the borrower defense, but also file a separate closed school discharge if your school closed while you were enrolled or shortly after you left. So you'll have both things working for you simultaneously. Step 6, enroll in an income-driven repayment plan, even temporarily, to benefit from retroactive forgiveness counting if needed. And this is something you may want to do anyway, especially if you fall into the category of people who can possibly have their checks garnished. You want to have some type of payment plan in place versus just avoiding it altogether. Now you put yourself in a position to get your checks garnished when you could just set up something to get the clock going, but at the same time, at least show that you're showing effort versus them just being able to garnish your checks because it looks as though you were avoiding them, simply put. And here's a bonus, hidden gem. If you submitted a borrower defense application and it's pending for over 12 months, you can request a forbearance pause without penalty while you wait, meaning you don't have to make payments and it won't hurt your credit. So if you've had a borrower defense application that's been pending for over 12 months, nothing has been done, then You can request a forbearance. This is somebody who's already implemented what I'm talking about for the most part, but nothing has been done over the past year, where you can request that pause without penalty. So in short, studentaid.gov plus the bar of defense is legitimately one of the best shots many people have at wiping away student debt if they know the broad definitions of fraud slash misrepresentation, carefully frame their story using the right language, combine it with closed school and IDR adjustment rules when possible. Now, I'm gonna give you a big bonus and give you access to the template. I'm gonna go over the template first, and then once I go over the template, I'll make the template available for you to copy and edit. Don't edit this one that I'll give you access to. You copy it for yourself, you edit it, and you make it fit your situation. Don't just make up stuff, don't fabricate. This is not what that is. This is you taking a step back and saying, hey, it was some misrepresentation that took place in this, situation, and then you using it to your advantage. Because there's so many people who are buried in student loan debt and are not benefiting from the fact that they had student loans. Now, some people might look at that like, hey, they gotta eat or lay in the bed that they made. They made the bed, they gotta lay in it. But a lot of times people were very young, they were still kids for the most part, and sometimes these schools took advantage of them. From a monetary standpoint, these people are still owing 50,000, 60,000, 80,000, sometimes even six figures worth of student loan debt for some degrees and things that didn't benefit them due to the fact that they were misled. That's a true thing happening. I just want to make you aware so you can use it to your advantage. So let's go to the template so you can get access to that, and then we'll get out of here and answer some questions. Now, here's the template. I'll make this available to you. You can, screenshot it if you want to, just for your own note purposes, or if you're taking notes, great. But this is the bar of defense application sample. In a section known as the explanation of the misconduct, this is what you'll put. You'll say, hey, I'm submitting this bar of defense to repayment application because I was misled by, it had a school name, about critical aspects of the education program and the outcomes I could expect upon graduation. Specifically, during the enrollment process, school name represented that, boom, and this is where it would be specific to your situation. Everybody's situation is going to be slightly different. But this is claim number one. The school had a 90% job placement rate within 6 months of the graduation. If you saw that, or you had, an experience of that, or you saw something in the email that said that, and of course it might not be 90%. They might say 82%. They might say 78. Whatever the number is it could be a misrepresentation. Claim number two, potentially. Graduates would earn starting salaries of $50,000 or more. A lot of schools did that. So if you have something that states that, or if you know that they stated that, you would include that verbiage. Claim number three, credits earned would easily transfer to other accredited universities. A lot of people fell into that category. I've heard of people, they said my credits were going to transfer, but they didn't. So I end up having to do this over and over and over again at this school. This is opportunity. And then, after those claims, it says, I relied on these representations when deciding to enroll and take out federal student loans. Upon graduation, I discovered that the job placement rates were dramatically lower than promised. Salary outcomes were not as advertised. Many graduates, including myself, struggled to find employment even in entry-level roles. True story. This is a true story for people. Other accredited institutions refused to accept transfer credits from school name. Additionally, the school engaged in aggressive and misleading enrollment tactics, failing to provide accurate information about accreditation status and post-graduation licensing eligibility. As a result of these misrepresentations, I incurred federal student loan debt under false pretenses and did not receive the value promised for my education. Next section, evidence submitted, if applicable. So if you're submitting evidence, then this would, be applicable to you. Enrollment agreement or promotional material quoting job placement rate. So if you have some type of agreement or promotional material that you can show in your evidence, great. Emails from admissions counselors, career services documents or brochures, accreditation denial. So if you shown how your accreditation was denied, then that's proof. You can use that to your advantage. Or transfer refusal letters, if any, that can be used. Attach anything you have, but even if nothing, proceed. And this is important because I don't want anybody that's connected to me that has access to this information to have their checks garnished over some student loans that, you know, might not have put them in the best position that they thought it would. Now, relief requested. So this part right here, you can say, I respectfully request a full discharge of my federal student loans associated with my enrollment at particular school and a refund of any payments made toward those loans. So this is the relief that you're requesting because it's going to have a section. Each highlight represents a section that you will see once you're in the back office of that area filling out the information. So in that relief request, here's an example of what you can say. I respectfully request a full discharge of my federal student loans associated with my enrollment at school and a refund of any payments made towards those loans. Now, this is the thing, and this is something I didn't say, but I think it's important to say. Y'all know it's a lot of stuff going on, you know, not to get political or anything. It's a lot of stuff going on. And a lot of companies and entities are being downsized. One of the ones that's being downsized is the Department of Education. They're taking a big shift, going into a different direction. The Department of Education is, you know, getting shut down in certain areas, and they're handing over that portion back to the state. So some of the things that the Department of Education used to do is going to be back into the state's hands as it once was. Why is that important? Well, if the Department of Education is downsizing to some degree or taking a different angle to some degree, then a lot of people applying for this could possibly easily get their student loans forgiven because they might not have enough manpower or woman power in order to even do what's necessary to go through this process properly. So it could be some opportunity there if you just put one and two together. But nonetheless, still go through this. And if you have any proof to go along with it, include it. Optional, strong closing sentence. It says, I trusted school name to provide honest, accurate information when making the life altering financial decisions, and I believe I was intentionally misled into taking out federal loans under false pretenses. That's a true thing for some people. This could be a good, strong closer for you. Then, number two, after the application, what happens? After you submit, there's a time limit, but enforcement is tricky right now because of delays. By law, under provision regulations, the Department of Education was supposed to respond within 180 days, about 6 months. However, due to lawsuits like the Sweet versus Cardona and staff shortages, which are absolutely correct, you know, about the staffing cut, many people are waiting 12 to 24 months now. So some things happening due to the staff shortages, etc. So you kind of gotta, you know, wait, but at least get your information out there so that way you can get the ball rolling. Push come to shove, if they don't respond within a reasonable time, you can escalate by filing a complaint with the federal student aid, and then, you know, go from there. In some cases, it could be some lawsuits involved and things of that nature, but we won't go deep into that. I'll make this document available to you, but this right here is the template that you can go off of when you're inside the system applying for the borrower defense. So that's the sample based on everything that I shared in the previous document of the why, the misrepresentation, the broadness of that misrepresentation positions you to take advantage of how you may have been misled or someone you know. So this is not information that you just want to sit on. If you know someone who could potentially be one of the ones who had this situation to take place, some type of misrepresentation, them being misled, or someone that had a school that closed or credits didn't transfer, but whatever it was, share this with somebody who you feel may benefit because there's a good chance that some checks will be being garnished. And I know how people feel when it comes to knowing that their money is about to be taken and it's little to nothing that they feel they can do about it. So sometimes it's just a matter of them knowing, them having the awareness. So I did my part by sharing it because I felt like, okay, a lot of people benefit from this because May 5th is right around the corner. May 5th is right around the corner. Tomorrow is May 1st. So May 5th is right around the corner. So if this video helps save somebody any amount of money or helps them get their loan forgiveness, I feel like I've done my part. We'll see if we have any questions, and then I won't hold you any longer, but I have to share this and give you everything, and I will make this document available. I'll drop the link inside the comments. So once this officially posts, come back to the same link that brought you here, look in the comments and or the description to find the actual document to the template. and then you can just access it. Don't make any edits to it. Just make a copy of it if you need to. But really, you can just look at it and use it as a guide as you go through the actual borrower defense application on the actual studentaid.gov website. All right, baby. Do you see any questions?
I don't see any questions, but I do see, Cheryl, said that her son was in the IDR program and everything stopped while waiting for it to come through. She said he was given the loan forgiveness, but it stopped, like it's paused.
Okay. So yeah, keep an eye on that for the one that said, their son. Cheryl said her son was in the IDR program, but things got paused. Keep an eye on that, and then keep me posted if you care to do so. You can come back to this video and tell me what changes have been made just in case it can benefit someone else. But it was a lot of people who was a part of the income driven program. And then I know of people who went from their payments being based on their income to now their payments double, triple. Some people had a lot of late payments that just instantly hit their credit. So it showed 180 days late. And then it dropped their score over 100 points within a short amount of time. I've had clients that happened to, and then they had to go through a process to get back on some type of payment plan so that it would kind of reverse the negativity that came from it. But definitely keep me in the loop of anything you see as it relates to that. That was the only comment.
Yeah, I don't see any more. Are you gonna tell them about your cousin?
I'll tell the quick story. So my cousin had that exact scenario, and basically he knew that something was about to take place. He said that it showed up that he had a lot of late payments or 180 days worth of late payments on his student loans. And I was like, okay, when it's time for us to refresh a report, because I was actually helping restore his credit. I still am, but I was like, okay, once we refresh a report, I'll be able to see what changes have been made. So I logged in when it was time to refresh the report. And just like he said, it was showing that it was 180 days late. And it was multiple loans showing 180 days late, all at the same time. It immediately dropped his score by over 300 points total. What I mean is over 100 points per bureau. It might have been over 200, but over 100 points per bureau, it dropped. And he was like, should I give him a call? Should I try to set up a plan? I was like, yes, definitely give him a call. See what kind of plan you can, work out, because you don't want this. This reversed a lot of the progress that we had made. That following month, when it was time to refresh, and I still sent out some letters to address certain things that was on his credit, but that following month, we were able to get certain things deleted. Plus, his call to make sure that he was able to get on some type of payment plan, position those late payments to be reversed, and then on top of the letters that we sent out for some other things that got some items deleted, he got all his points back and his score went up over like 300 points. So it was whatever points they took, he got that plus about like 70 points. So his score went up significantly just by communicating, just by taking action and not just letting it sit there. So that's why it's important for you to take heed of this, because certain people have been having higher payments and they're not liking that. Or some people have had late payments to show up and it's dropping their score drastically. But if you sit there and do nothing, now you just sit in that situation versus taking action and being able to get all of your points back and some. And in this case, possibly even getting your student loan forgiven. If I don't have any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and end this live. We're close to the top of the hour. I just wanted to share this, make this available, doing it in a live format because I know this could be very helpful to someone. And I will make the document available down below. I will be doing some more lives, sharing the screen now that I know that this is available. It gives a lot of opportunity of me being able to share value on YouTube and do it in a live format that allows me to pour into people that are part of the royalty movement, our economic empowerment team, which basically is showing people how to take full control of their own economy, fix their own credit, the DIY credit. We have tools and things that allow people to get out of debt faster, have their own blueprint on how to invest to the point where they can position themselves for early retirement or position themselves for quality retirement. So it's a loaded membership for those who are part of the royalty movement. If you want more information on that, let me know that in the comments as well, and I'll show you how you can get plugged in to be a part of the royalty movement and get direct access to myself and my wife as well as it relates to you being on your financial and or credit journey. That's all I got. I ended with the mission statement. You see, we live in a world where we are conditioned for failure. And oftentimes we have been programmed or fooled into mediocrity. So people find themselves living like peasants instead of the royalty that they were meant to be. But you see, here in the royalty movement, we see the king in you. We see the queen in you from start to finish. It's just time for you to take your seat on the throne because this is where we uplift your character, your confidence, and your cash flow. As royalty, you should establish a solid financial foundation that'll soon lead to your abundance and thriving empire. Take your seat on the throne. You are royalty. Salute.